to Build an Unbreakable Success Mindset. Written and published by Audiobook, Mindset. Introduction. Have you ever wondered why some people rise no matter how many times they fall, while others stay stuck even with all the resources in the world? The answer isn't luck, it's not talent, it's mindset. Success doesn't begin with your actions, it begins with your thoughts. Before you build the life you want, you must rewire the mind that leads it. This is not about motivational fluff. This is about bending your brain, training it, challenging it, and reshaping it to become unbreakable. In this book, you'll stretch your thinking, expose your hidden limits, and reshape your beliefs until your mind becomes your most powerful weapon. Because once your mind is unbreakable, your success becomes inevitable. Every goal becomes reachable, every failure becomes fuel, and every day becomes a step forward. This is how greatness is built from the inside out. Chapter 1. Break the loop. Destroy the thought patterns that sabotage you. Every single day, your brain is running thousands of thoughts without your permission. Most of them are on repeat. And unless you're conscious of them, these thoughts will quietly shape your behavior, your confidence, and eventually, your entire life. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself thinking, "I'll start tomorrow," or "What if I'm not good enough?" These thoughts don't just come and go, they form patterns. And those patterns become the invisible walls around your potential. This is the mental loop, the cycle of negative self-talk, fear, hesitation, and doubt. It feels normal because it's familiar, but just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's safe. In fact, it's often the most familiar thoughts that are quietly destroying your progress. Every time you believe them, you hand over your power without even realizing it. You become trapped in your own mind, playing small, staying quiet, and convincing yourself that someday you'll be ready, when the truth is, that day never comes unless you make it happen. To bend your brain, to reshape your mental reality, you must first break this loop, and that begins with awareness. You cannot fix a problem you refuse to notice. Start paying attention to the thoughts that play in your head every morning when you wake up, when you fail at something, or when you're about to try something new. Those are the critical moments. That's when your brain is either repeating your old fears or allowing you to step into something greater. When your mind tells you, "You're too tired today," that's exactly when you need to move. When it whispers, "You're not ready," that's the sign to begin. These thoughts are not truth, they're triggers. And your response is what decides your future. If you keep giving in, you'll reinforce the same weak cycle. But if you choose differently, if you act in the face of resistance, you begin to rewire your brain. Slowly, your identity starts to shift from someone who avoids discomfort to someone who rises through it. This transformation doesn't happen in a day. But here's the secret. Repetition builds identity. Just like going to the gym builds your body, doing hard things over and over builds your mind. The more you override your limiting thoughts, the more you train your brain to expect power instead of panic. The more you move when you feel tired, the more you prove to yourself that your feelings do not control your life, your decisions do. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The brain follows what you feed it. If you keep giving it excuses, it will make quitting easy. But if you feed it bold action, no matter how small, you begin to reshape your entire inner world. That's how you bend the loop. That's how you escape the mental cage. And that's how you take the first real step toward an unbreakable success mindset. Chapter 2. Own the inner war. Your mind is the real battlefield. Most people think success is about what you do on the outside, grinding harder, waking up earlier, building a better plan. But the truth is, all of that means nothing if you haven't mastered what's going on inside your own head. The real war is not outside of you, it's within you. It's not the competition, the economy, or the obstacles that defeat most people. It's their own thoughts. It's the inner voice that says, "You can't do this, you always mess up," or "You're not like them." That voice doesn't shout, it whispers. It pretends to protect you. But what it's really doing is stealing your power before you even start. Every single day, you are in a silent war between two forces, your comfort and your calling. One wants you to stay small, safe, and hidden. The other is begging you to step up, to take risks, to grow into who you were meant to be. And every decision you make feeds one of those forces. The question is, which one are you feeding? To bend your brain and build an unbreakable mindset, you have to take full ownership of this inner battle. You can't afford to be passive anymore. You must become the commander of your thoughts, not the prisoner. That starts with recognizing the inner enemy, noticing when self-doubt creeps in, when fear starts to guide your choices, and when your old identity tries to pull you back into the shadows. And once you see it, don't reason with it. Don't negotiate with limitation. Confront it, replace it, destroy it. Start talking to yourself like someone who's already won, even if it feels fake at first. Say, "I can handle this. I've been through worse. I don't shrink when it's hard, I sharpen." Because here's the truth, your brain believes what you repeat. The more you speak power, the more it becomes your default. And soon, what once felt like lies becomes your new reality. That's how identity is built, not by what you say once, but by what you say consistently. The strongest people aren't those who have no fear. They're the ones who go to war with fear every day and win. They don't allow negative thoughts to rent space in their mind for free. They challenge every lie with truth. They question every doubt with courage. And when they fall, they don't give up. They get up smarter, sharper, and more dangerous than before. Why? Because they know the battlefield is not out there, it's within. So the next time your mind tells you to quit, to wait, or to hide, pause, breathe, and ask, "Who's in charge right now, or my fear?" Then take back control. Even one small act of courage is ending that email, finishing that workout, speaking up when you're scared can change the momentum of your entire life. This is how mental strength is built, not by avoiding the inner war, but by learning to win it every single day. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a flawless record. You just need the decision to fight for the person you're becoming, even when no one sees it. Because when you win inside, the outside world follows. Chapter 3. Rewire pain. Make every struggle build you. Pain is not the enemy, but most people treat it like one. They run from it, they numb it, they avoid it at all costs. And in doing so, they never grow. But if you truly want to build an unbreakable success mindset, you must learn something the average person never understands. Pain is a teacher, not a punishment. The most powerful transformation in your life will never come from comfort. It will come from those dark, heavy, soul-stretching moments that force you to choose, evolve, or break. But here's the truth. They don't break you unless you let them. What breaks most people isn't the hardship itself. It's the story they tell themselves about it. Why is this happening to me? I'm cursed. It's not fair. These thoughts make the pain heavier than it needs to be. But what if, instead, you asked a different question? What is this pain trying to teach me? That shift alone can bend your entire brain. Because pain, when seen with the right mindset, becomes a mirror. It shows you your weaknesses, your blind spots, your hidden strength. It reveals where you need to grow, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Think of the people you admire, the ones who are wise, strong, deeply grounded. Do you think they became that way because life was easy for them? No, they became that way because they didn't waste their pain. They used it, they studied it, they allowed it to mold them into something stronger. That's what you must do. When life throws you into fire, don't panic. Let it burn away what no longer serves you. Let it melt the lies you believed about yourself. Let it forge you into someone who doesn't fear the fire, someone who becomes it. Rewiring pain starts with detachment. Don't attach your identity to what you went through. Just because you failed doesn't mean you are a failure. Just because someone hurt you doesn't mean you are broken. The event was real, but the meaning you attach to it is a choice. And if you choose wisely, pain can become the very thing that elevates you. Use your struggle as fuel. Use every tear, every betrayal, every sleepless night as bricks to build your foundation. Say to yourself, this didn't come to stop me, it came to wake me up. Because the truth is, pain only has two purposes. It either breaks you down or it breaks you open. Let it break you open. Open to new strength, open to new discipline, open to a version of you that only hardship could unlock. There is a power inside you that comfort can't reach, but pain can. And the best part? Once you've learned how to use pain as your teacher, you become untouchable. Not because life stops being hard, but because you stop being afraid of it. You start walking into challenges with a calm mind. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding wisely. You stop seeing difficulty as a wall and start seeing it as a gym where your mind, your grit, and your character get trained every single day. So stop running from struggle. Embrace it. Study it. Use it. That's how you bend your brain. That's how you rise when others break. And that's how you build the kind of strength that doesn't just survive pain but transforms through it. Chapter 4. Silence the noise. Master your focus in a distracted world. We live in a world that is louder than ever. Your phone buzzes. Your mind races. Notifications light up your screen. People pull at your attention from every direction. Social media, emails, gossip, trends, opinions, comparisons, doubts, fears, and distractions. And in the middle of all this noise, you're trying to build a meaningful life. You're trying to create something powerful, something lasting. But here's the truth. You can't build anything solid with a scattered mind. Focus is no longer just a skill, it's a superpower. The one who controls their attention controls their future, because whatever owns your focus owns your life. And if you don't learn how to silence the noise, you'll spend your entire life chasing other people's dreams, reacting to their demands, and doubting your own direction. Your mind is like a lens. Whatever it focuses on becomes bigger, sharper, more real. If you focus on fear, fear grows. If you focus on problems, they multiply. But if you focus on solutions, on progress, on discipline, those begin to take over your reality. That's why mastering your focus is not about doing more. It's about doing less of the wrong things. It's about creating an internal quiet where your purpose can speak clearly and your thoughts can line up with your goals. But here's the problem. Your brain has been trained by the modern world to crave stimulation. It jumps from app to app, video to video, thought to thought. And without noticing, your attention span becomes shorter, your thinking becomes foggier, and your sense of direction weakens. You may feel like you're busy, but you're not building. You're reacting, not creating. And success never comes to the reactive, it comes to the intentional. To bend your brain and build an unbreakable mindset, you must learn to reclaim your attention. Start by practicing the art of mental silence. Put your phone away. Turn off the noise. Sit in stillness. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. You're detoxing from distraction. But the more you sit with yourself, the more your thoughts begin to clear. And in that clarity, you'll rediscover something powerful, your inner voice. That voice doesn't scream, it whispers, but when everything else gets quiet, it becomes loud enough to guide you. That voice knows what you really want. It knows what you're capable of. It's been buried under everyone else's expectations, but it's still there, waiting to lead you. The next step, learn how to protect your focus like a sacred flame. That means setting boundaries. That means saying no without guilt. That means cutting out the people, platforms, and habits that drain your energy and steal your time. You only get so much attention each day. Don't waste it on things that don't grow you. Train your mind to stay locked in, even when distractions tempt you. If you're reading, read deeply. If you're working, go all in. If you're resting, rest fully. Be where your feet are. Live with full presence. Because every time you resist distraction, you strengthen your mental muscle. And over time, that muscle becomes sharp, strong, unshakable. And here's the secret. No one tells you when you master your focus, you become dangerous. Because while the world scrolls and complains, you're building. While others chase dopamine, you're stacking discipline. While they're watching others live their lives, you're creating a life worth watching. So, silence the noise, not just in your environment, but in your mind. Let go of the urge to react to everything. Let go of the habit of always being available. The more noise you remove, the clearer your vision becomes. And when your vision is clear, your power is unlimited. Chapter 5. Embrace the boring. Discipline is the real superpower. Everyone loves the idea of greatness, the applause, the spotlight, the achievement, but very few are willing to face the reality of what greatness actually looks like behind the scenes. Because, truthfully, it's not exciting, it's not glamorous, it's not viral, it's repetitive, quiet, and yes, boring. And that's exactly why most people will never reach it. We've been trained to chase stimulation, to look for the next big thing, the next spark of motivation, the next shortcut that makes everything easier. But here's the truth they don't post on social media. Success is boring. It's built in the trenches of routine. It's carved out in early mornings when no one's watching, in late nights when no one cares, in doing the same small action again and again and again with focus, with patience, with belief. You see, motivation is like a spark. It can start a fire, but it can't keep it burning. Only discipline can do that. And discipline isn't about hype. It's not about waking up every day ready to conquer the world. It's about waking up even when you don't feel like doing what needs to be done anyway. When you rely on motivation, your progress becomes unstable. You'll show up on the good days and disappear on the bad ones. But when you build your life on discipline, you create a rhythm that doesn't break, even when your emotions do. And that's what bends your brain. That's what makes your mindset unbreakable. The world will tempt you to abandon the boring, to quit the routine and chase something newer, faster, flashier. But every time you leave the boring path, you start over. And mastery is never built by starting over, it's built by stacking effort over time. Do you know what's actually rare? Someone who does what they said they'd do long after the mood they said it in has passed. Someone who still trains when no one is clapping. Someone who shows up not for praise, but for purpose. That person becomes unstoppable. Because while everyone else is distracted by novelty, they're being quietly shaped by repetition. Let's be real, discipline is not fun. It's not sexy. It's waking up early to stretch when your body is tired. It's writing the 100th page of your book when the inspiration ran out 50 pages ago. It's practicing your craft when no one is watching and no one is clapping. It's embracing the ordinary until it produces the extraordinary. Discipline is also how you earn self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust. Every time you push through when you don't feel like it, you're sending your brain a powerful message: I can count on me. And the more you do that, the less you need outside validation. Because you're no longer chasing confidence, you're building it. And let's not pretend this journey is easy. You will get bored. You will question if it's worth it. You will be tempted to give in. But that's the test. That's the moment most people break hand. The rare few bend their minds and keep going. They fall in love with the process. They learn to find joy not in the reward, but in the work itself. Because the reward is temporary, but the person you become through the process, that's permanent. Ask yourself this: are you willing to be bored for a season so you can be proud for a lifetime? Because that's what this chapter is about: choosing the long road, the quiet grind, the unseen hours, the parts no one talks about but everyone envies when the results finally show up. That's how champions are built. That's how creators, athletes, leaders, and visionaries are born, not by chance, not by luck, but by doing boring things over and over with excellence. So embrace the boring, honor the routine, worship the discipline. That's where greatness grows, in the invisible spaces, in the quiet corners, in the repetitions no one will ever see. Because when discipline becomes your identity, success becomes your lifestyle. Chapter 6. Challenge reality. Your limits are just old decisions. Most people live inside invisible walls, not because the world built them, but because their own mind did. They walk through life with chains they never question. I'm just not good with people. I'm not smart enough to do that. It's too late for me. These aren't facts. They're decisions, quiet ones made years ago, often in moments of fear, failure, or rejection, and repeated so often that they feel like reality. But here's the truth. Your reality is a reflection of your beliefs, and your beliefs are bendable. The limits you think are holding you back are not carved into stone, they're written in pencil. You can rewrite them at any time. But to do that, you have to challenge every part of your identity that you've accepted without question. You have to ask, who told me I couldn't? When did I decide I wasn't enough? And why have I been living like that decision is law? This is what it means to challenge reality. It means you stop accepting your past as your prison. It means you stop confusing comfort with truth. Just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's correct. Your mind loves certainty even if that certainty is hurting you. But growth only happens when you're willing to step into the unknown, to break the loop of repetition and declare, I'm not who I was, I'm becoming someone new. To bend your brain, you have to be bold enough to walk beyond what you've been told. Maybe your parents taught you limits. Maybe your environment boxed you in. Maybe your own failures became your identity. But no matter where those limits came from, they do not define you. You define you. You see, your brain is neuroplastic. That means it has the ability to rewire, reprogram, and reinvent itself at any age. You are not stuck. You are not too old. You are not too damaged. You are not too far behind. These are lies whispered by a tired version of you that's scared of change. But guess what? You don't need that version anymore. Every time you choose to act beyond your fierce every time you speak when you used to stay silent, try when you used to quit, stand when you used to shrink, you are bending your brain. You are reclaiming your power. You are proving that your old decisions don't own you. But this isn't easy. The brain resists change. It's designed to keep you safe, not successful. That's why challenging reality takes courage. It means getting uncomfortable. It means facing the truth that the life you want is possible, but it will require a new version of you, a version who doesn't live by default, but by design. Start by catching your mental patterns. When your brain says, I can't, ask, is that true or just something I've repeated too many times? When it says, that's not for people like me, respond, why not me? Talk to your fear like a teacher, not a master. And understand this, most of your limits were never yours to begin with. They were inherited, passed down, given to you by people who gave up on themselves. People who were afraid, so they taught you to be afraid. People who were small, so they told you not to dream big. But their ceiling is not your ceiling. Their fear is not your future. You don't have to live in the same cage. You don't have to carry the same burdens. You can release the identity that no longer fits. You can be someone new, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And once you do, the world around you changes not because the world changed, but because you did. This is what happens when you challenge reality. You stop chasing permission. You stop waiting for the perfect time. You stop making excuses for why you're not already who you want to be. And instead, you start becoming someone who thinks differently, speaks differently, moves differently, someone who doesn't let fear dictate direction, someone who doesn't let the past predict the future, someone who understands that the only real limit is belief. So bend your brain, push against what feels fixed, rebel against the voice that says, "This is just who I am." No, it's who you were. Who you become is still being written. And you hold the pen. Chapter 7. Become the standard. Your mind shapes your entire world. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you're willing to tolerate. And most people tolerate far too little from themselves and far too much from the world around them. They settle for average effort. They excuse inconsistency. They allow distraction. And without realizing it, they slowly lower their standards until they're living far beneath their potential. But if you want to build an unbreakable success mindset, you must flip the switch. You must become someone who no longer adjusts to the world, but someone who sets the standard for it. This means no more asking for permission, no more waiting to be chosen, no more hoping someone will recognize your value. You decide your value. You set your expectations. You lead your life not like a follower, not like a victim, but like a commander of purpose. Think about it. Every environment you walk into, every relationship you have, every result you're getting in life, it all reflects the standard you've accepted. If your room is messy, your finances are unstable, your energy is scattered, it's not just circumstance, it's standard. And here's the hard truth. Your life rises or falls to meet the mental standard you've trained your brain to operate by. That's why mindset isn't just about thinking positive. It's about thinking with intention, with clarity, with the kind of precision that refuses to accept anything less than what you're capable of. But this doesn't mean being hard on yourself or becoming some emotionless machine. No true standards are born out of self-respect, not self-hatred. When you raise your standard, you don't just demand more from life, you demand more from yourself because you know you're worth it. You stop letting your moods decide your actions. You stop letting other people define your worth. You stop chasing approval and start embodying excellence. Here's the truth most people avoid. If you want to live like the top 1%, you must train like the top 1%. And that begins with mental standards. Not just what you want, what you refuse to tolerate anymore. You refuse to let fear run your decisions. You refuse to make excuses when things get hard. You refuse to betray your own potential by playing small to keep others comfortable. You must become the type of person who is dangerous in silence, who doesn't need to shout about their goals because they're living them daily. You walk with quiet confidence. You make decisions from a place of vision, not reaction. You work in the dark, knowing the light will come not because you're lucky, but because you've built yourself to deserve it. But let's be real, this path is lonely. It's not crowded at the top for a reason. People will misunderstand you. Some will call you intense, too focused, too ambitious. They'll try to pull you back to the level they feel comfortable at. But when you've raised your standard, you can no longer breathe in environments that reek of mediocrity. And that's not arrogance, that's evolution. You must protect your mind like it's sacred ground, because it is. Every thought you allow in, every person you give access to, every habit you tolerate, it's either building your standard or breaking it. So if you're serious about success, real success, the kind that lasts, the kind that fulfills, the kind that's earned, then you must declare right now, I am the standard. Not someday, not when things are easier. Now. From this moment on, Average effort is no longer acceptable. From this moment on, you move with purpose even when no one's watching. From this moment on, you stop waiting for the perfect conditions and start executing like your future depends on it, because it does. And here's the most beautiful part. When you become the standard, everything else begins to shift. You attract better opportunities because your energy commands them. You draw in stronger relationships because your presence filters out the weak. You earn deeper respect because your discipline speaks louder than words ever could. So set your standard high, then meet it every single day. Not for applause, not for validation, but because you owe it to the person you're becoming. This is how you bend your brain. This is how you lead your life. This is how you become unbreakable. Chapter 8. Burn the old script. Reinvent yourself from the inside out. Every person walks through life following a script, a silent, invisible story written by their past. Some pages were written by childhood experiences, some by painful failures, others by the opinions of people who never truly saw them. And without realizing it, we live by that script. We repeat the same thoughts, the same behaviors, the same emotions. We stay stuck in roles we never chose but accepted because they were familiar. And so, the story becomes a cycle. But here's the truth. If the story you've been living doesn't serve your future, it's time to burn it. You are not obligated to keep reading the same chapter just because you've already invested time into it. You are not required to hold on to a version of yourself that was built on fear, rejection, shame, or survival. That version may have gotten you through some tough seasons, but it's not the version that will take you to the next level. To bend your brain, to build a mindset that is truly unbreakable, you must be willing to let go of who you were so you can fully embrace who you're meant to become. Reinvention is not a one-time event. It's not something that happens because the calendar says it's a new year. It's a daily act of courageous decision to leave behind the mental patterns that made you feel safe, but kept you small. Think of all the things you once believed that you now know were false. At one point, you might have believed you weren't worthy, that your voice didn't matter, that success was meant for people like them and not for you. But if you're reading this now, that means one thing: you're awakening. You're realizing that beliefs are not facts, that your story is not set in stone, that who you were does not limit who you can become. Burning the old script means questioning everything. It means no longer automatically identifying with failure, trauma, or fear. It means asking, who told me I couldn't? Why have I accepted this label for so long? What if the only thing keeping me stuck is the belief that I am? And then, without waiting for permission, you write something new. You begin to speak differently, not with false confidence, but with a steady conviction. You stop talking about your pain like it's your identity and start speaking from your power. You stop waiting for the right time and start moving like your future depends on what you do today, because it does. But make no mistake, reinvention requires grief. You have to grieve the version of you that everyone knew, that you were comfortable with, that fit the narrative others expected. And sometimes it means being misunderstood. It means outgrowing people who only knew the old you. It means being alone before you're fully aligned. But that loneliness, that discomfort, that's the price of alignment. Reinvention is messy. Some days you'll feel strong, and other days you'll feel like you're starting over. But that's part of the process. Don't confuse the mess with failure. Confusion is not a sign that you're lost, it's a sign that you're shedding. And every time you make a new decision, to speak up, to take the risk, to choose growth over comfort, you add a new sentence to your story. One that sounds less like, I can't, and more like, I'm becoming. There's no finish line to this work. The journey of self-transformation is infinite. But the more pages you rewrite, the more your life begins to reflect your truth, not your trauma, not your old fears, Not your outdated programming, but the raw, real, grounded version of you that has always been buried underneath the noise. This is what it means to burn the old script. To stop performing a life that no longer excites you. To stop replaying wounds that no longer define you. To stop trying to fit into a role that was never meant for you in the first place. You don't need to become a brand new person. You just need to return to the real one. The one who was brave before the world told you to play it safe. The one who was curious before failure taught you to shrink. The one who had fire before fear taught you to dim your light. So burn the lies, burn the limits, burn the script. And from the ashes, build again, this time as the author of your own becoming. Chapter 9. Protect the gate. Guard your mind like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your mind is your most sacred space. It's where your future is decided, your identity is shaped, and your reality is formed. Every thought, every belief, every emotion you allow in has the power to either build you or break you. Yet most people treat their mind like an open gate, allowing anyone and anything to walk in unchecked. But if you want to build an unbreakable success mindset, you must become the gatekeeper of your thoughts, ruthless, intentional, focused. Think about it. You wouldn't allow toxic strangers to walk into your home, trash your kitchen, insult your family, and destroy your peace. So why allow that in your head? Every scroll through negativity, every conversation with someone who drains your energy, every video that feeds doubt, every headline that injects fear, you are opening the gate. And over time, those inputs become your default programming. You must wake up to this truth. Whatever enters your mind shapes your entire life. That's not an exaggeration, it's a neurological fact. Your brain doesn't just record experiences, it builds internal maps from them. If you feed it failure, scarcity, fear, and distraction, don't be surprised when you feel lost, anxious, or unmotivated. Your thoughts are not just passing clouds, they are blueprints. So if you want to change your life, you must first change what you allow in. Guard your thoughts the way a warrior guards his fortress. Be vigilant, be selective, be conscious. Start with your environment. Ask yourself, who am I listening to every day? What kind of voices are shaping my worldview? Is my feed feeding my growth or feeding my fear? Curate your world like your future depends on it, because it does. Surround yourself with voices that challenge you, not coddle you. Input content that expands your thinking, not numbs your focus. Listen to words that call out your potential, not justify your excuses. And most importantly, monitor your inner dialogue, because even more dangerous than outside noise is the voice you trust most, your own. When your mind whispers, "You're not good enough," that's not your intuition, that's your conditioning. When it says, "You've always been like this," it's not your identity, it's a memory. And you can challenge it. You must. Because if you don't, that voice becomes your compass and it'll lead you nowhere you want to go. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them, the filter, the gate. You get to decide which ones stay and which ones are shown the door. Speak to yourself like you would to someone you deeply love. When fear rises, answer with faith. When shame creeps in, respond with truth. When doubt attacks, reply with action. Train your mind to interrupt the pattern before it becomes your personality. This is the hidden discipline most people ignore. They focus on habits, goals, and strategies, but they forget to protect the very source that generates all of it, the mind. An unguarded mind will always betray your potential. A disciplined one will protect it like gold. So build inner security. Create rituals that strengthen your mindset daily. Read what sharpens you. Watch what lifts you. Repeat what grounds you. Reflect on what purifies you. And when the world tries to storm your gates with chaos, noise, and negativity, you'll remain unmoved. Not because life is perfect, but because your mind is fortified. That's real power. Not loud, not boastful, but anchored. And here's what happens when you master this. You stop living in reaction and start living in creation. You become the sculptor of your world, not the product of it. You walk into rooms with silent confidence because you've already conquered the louder war inside. You create space in your mind for clarity, peace, focus, and from that space, your best work is born. Your best decisions are made. Your best self is revealed. Because when your mind is clean, clear, and protected, everything becomes possible. So from this moment forward, protect the gate. Let in only what serves your vision. Block everything else. Because you are not just building a life. You are building a mind that can hold the weight of greatness. And that begins with what you allow in. Chapter 10. Make it non-negotiable. Commit to the life you say you want. Most people say they want success. They say they want transformation. They talk about goals, dreams, and change like it's a matter of inspiration, like one good video, one spark of motivation, one clean journal page will flip the switch. But here's the hard truth most never face. You don't get the life you want, you get the life you commit to. And the level of that commitment determines everything. Look around. Every result in your life is evidence of what you've been committed to, either consciously or unconsciously. If your health is chaotic, your mind scattered, your goals unclear, it's not that you're lazy, it's that you haven't made it non-negotiable yet. And until something becomes non-negotiable, it will always remain optional. And optional things are the first to die when life gets hard. You see, most people dabble. They try when it's convenient. They show up when it's easy. They give half their energy and expect full rewards. But the ones who win, the ones who truly bend their minds into unstoppable forces, they don't treat their growth like a preference. They treat it like a duty. Their goals aren't wishes, they're vows. They don't ask, should I do this today? They've already decided, I do this, always. Because they understand something, power success is built on identity, not effort. It's not about grinding every hour. It's about becoming someone for whom discipline, clarity, and persistence are just a way of life. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your standards. And your standards are shaped by your commitments. If you say you want to be mentally strong, but your mind collapses every time pressure hits, you haven't committed. If you say you want to build a business, but you scroll more than you execute, you haven't committed. If you say you want peace, but you keep surrounding yourself with chaos, you haven't committed. And this isn't about judgment. It's about ownership. Bending your brain means refusing to live in the gray area. It means stepping out of the lukewarm mindset of trying and stepping fully into the fire of deciding. When you make something non-negotiable, everything changes. You don't need to be motivated, you're anchored. You don't wait for the perfect mood, you create the environment. You don't beg for focus, you train it. You don't run from failure, you study it. Your word becomes law. Your actions follow that law. And your life begins to reflect the strength of someone who doesn't break under pressure but sharpens under it. But let's be honest, making something non-negotiable is terrifying at first. Because the moment you decide, truly decide, you eliminate the option to go back. You burn the bridge to your old self. You stop giving yourself backup plans for mediocrity. And that's scary because it demands a new version of you. But that version is where all your power lives. You must look in the mirror and say, this is who I am now. I don't skip. I don't stall. I don't shrink. I show up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because the world will throw chaos at you. Your mind will offer 100 exits. Your old self will beg to be comfortable again. But when it's non-negotiable, you don't listen. You go anyway, you move forward anyway. You fight for the life you said you wanted when it was easy, and now you're proving it when it's not. And eventually, something profound happens. The actions that felt impossible become automatic. The identity that once felt fake becomes natural. The pressure that once broke you becomes your training ground. And the results? They don't just show up. They compound, slowly, relentlessly, permanently. Because now you're not hoping for change. You've committed to it. You've made it non-negotiable. And that makes you unstoppable. So whatever it is, your mindset, your health, your business, your purpose, draw the line. No more maybe. No more later. No more if I feel like it. From this moment forward it's done, and your actions will prove it. Chapter 11. Rise from within. Build the kind of strength that can't be taken. The world respects results. It claps for success. It honors trophies, numbers, titles, and accomplishments. But the truth most people don't see is this. Real strength isn't built in public. It's built in silence. In the early hours when no one's watching. In the private battles no one will ever know you fought. In the quiet moments where you had every reason to give up and still chose to rise. And this kind of strength, it can't be given. It can't be faked. It can't be borrowed. It must be forged from within. Most people are chasing outer success, wealth, validation, recognition, hoping it will finally fill that empty space inside. But what they don't realize is that the outside world can only give you what you already believe you're worth. If your inner foundation is cracked, no amount of external achievement will make you feel whole. Because the real battle, the one that decides everything, is the one happening inside your own soul. To bend your brain into something unbreakable, you must stop looking for proof that you're enough and start becoming the proof. This means developing a strength that isn't dependent on applause, a confidence that doesn't need likes, followers, or praise. It's the strength of knowing, I can handle what comes. I can rebuild if I fall. I don't need to be seen to be strong, I need to be real. You rise from within when you stop waiting to feel ready and start moving in spite of fear. You rise when you realize that every breakdown was an invitation to build deeper. You rise when you stop asking life to be easier and start asking yourself to become stronger. But let's not romanticize it. Rising from within is painful. It's slow. It's the death of old habits, old thoughts, and sometimes old relationships. It's the quiet decision to face the parts of you you've ignored, the insecurity, the guilt, the shame, and not run, not numb, not hide, but sit with it, study it, grow through it, and then transcend it. The greatest strength doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It moves with calm, with certainty, with grounded power. You know you've built inner strength when you no longer panic in uncertain situations. When you can walk away from toxic pleno because you're angry, but because you're peaceful. When you can make hard decisions not from emotion, but from clarity. When you can hold space for your own healing and still get up and execute. This is the kind of strength no one can take. It's not in your muscles, it's in your choices. It's not in your reputation, it's in your resilience. It's not in what people say about you, it's in what you believe about yourself when everything else is stripped away. So ask yourself, if everything I had was taken, my job, my status, my followers, my comfort, who would I be? If the answer shakes you, that's where your work begins. Because anything you fear losing has power over you. But when your strength comes from within, you become untouchable. Rising from within also means taking full responsibility for your evolution. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You stop blaming the past. You stop replaying the same excuses that have kept you small. You begin walking a new path not because someone told you to, but because you chose to. And yes, the path is steep. It will require everything you've got: your patience, your faith, your consistency, your grit. But in return, it will give you something no one can give you. A version of yourself that no longer bends to fear, that no longer chases approval, that no longer lives in reaction, but moves from deep, deliberate, self-authored power. So let this be your vow. From this day forward, I will stop outsourcing my strength. I will stop measuring myself against a broken world. I will build from within, brick by brick, thought by thought, action by action, until the person I see in the mirror is no longer a reflection of pain, doubt, or who the world said I had to be, but a reflection of purpose, of peace, of raw, earned power. Because once you rise from within, no one can ever bring you back down. Chapter 12. Outlast the storm. Build the endurance that carries you to greatness. Everyone loves the moment when success finally arrives, the applause, the breakthrough, the recognition, the reward. But what they don't see is the truth behind every great story. It wasn't talent that got them there. It was endurance. Not speed, not luck, not genius, but the quiet, invisible, day after day decision to keep going, especially when it felt pointless. Most people give up not because they're incapable, but because they expected the path to be short. They were prepared to try but not to endure. They were willing to start but not to suffer. They thought success would come quickly, easily, predictably. And when it didn't, they assumed they weren't cut out for it. But success is not a straight road, it's a storm. And if you want to bend your brain into something unbreakable, you must become someone who doesn't just start strong, but someone who outlasts. Outlast the boredom. Outlast the confusion. Outlast the self-doubt. Outlast the delay. Outlast the storm. This is where most people fail not in their ability, but in their patience. They demand fast results. They need constant progress. They believe if something isn't growing, it's dying. But the truth is, in the deepest parts of your growth journey, you're expanding even when it doesn't show. A seed doesn't look like it's changing while it's buried in the soil, but underneath, it's breaking open, stretching, reaching, becoming. And just like that seed, your work, your discipline, your mindset, it's all compounding in silence. You must train yourself to hold your vision, even when the evidence hasn't arrived yet. That's endurance. To show up without applause, to believe without proof, to persist without results. This kind of strength isn't about emotion, it's about identity. It's who you've decided to be when your emotions are screaming to quit. Because storms are loud, they distort your thinking, they shake your faith, they try to make you forget your progress. But if you can stay still, stay anchored, stay focused, you'll walk out stronger than you ever imagined. Outlasting is a spiritual discipline. It means trusting in a process that doesn't always make sense. It means staying loyal to your values, even when it costs you. It means continuing to build with everything inside of you, while everyone around you is slowing down, getting distracted, or giving up. Understand this. You're not behind. You're being tested. Life doesn't ask, can you start? It asks, can you stay? Can you stay committed when there's no excitement left? Can you keep showing up after you've failed again and again? Can you stick to your values when shortcuts are tempting and compromise feels easy? The storm comes to strip away the noise to see what you really believe. It reveals your foundation. It exposes your habits. It purifies your motives. And if you endure it with strength, it leaves you with a version of yourself that's deeper, sharper, and built for legacy. But here's what's beautiful. You don't have to be perfect to endure. You don't have to never fall. You just have to keep rising. Endurance is not about feeling strong, it's about choosing not to give in. Even if you're crawling, even if you're barely holding on, even if it's one tiny action at a time, you're still in the fight. And that's what matters. So how do you build this endurance? You set your non-negotiables and honor them no matter what. You build daily rituals that ground you when emotions rise. You speak to yourself with compassion, but push with discipline. You surround yourself with environments that elevate your resilience, not weaken it. And most of all, you make your why louder than your obstacles. You weren't meant to sprint through life. You were meant to stand the test of time. You were built to weather setbacks, delays, rejections, not because life is against you, but because life is refining you. Every storm you survive adds another layer of strength you'll carry forever. You'll walk differently, think differently, lead differently. Not because it was easy, but because you stayed when others ran. That's the heart of true greatness. It doesn't burn out. It doesn't vanish when the feelings fade. It doesn't crumble when plans fall apart. It endures. So when life gets loud, sit still. When the path gets dark, stay close to your values. When the storm shakes, everything anchor deeper. Because you're not here to quit. You're here to outlast. Chapter 13. The Power of One More. Win the battle that happens right before breakthrough. There is a moment in every journey, quiet, heavy, almost invisible, when most people quit. It doesn't look dramatic. There's no explosion, no major failure, no obvious sign that says, you've reached your end. Instead, it's subtle. It's the small voice that whispers, this isn't working. The sinking feeling that says, maybe I'm just not meant for this. The quiet thought that says, no one would notice if I stopped. This moment happens just before things begin to shift. It's not the end. It only feels like the end. Because right before every breakthrough, there's a breakdown. Right before the mountain levels out, the climb gets steeper. Right before the rain stops, the clouds grow darker. And right before you finally rise, you feel the heaviest pull to fall. This is the final battle. And it's here, in this fragile moment, that most people surrender, not because they're weak, but because they don't realize how close they are. They stop one day too early. They leave one rep too soon. They speak one truth too late. They walk away right before the door opens. But those who succeed, those who bend their mind into something unbreakable, have learned the secret. One more rep, one more hour, one more no before the yes. One more draft, one more try, one more step. When the mind screams, you've done enough, they whisper back, let's go one more. Why? Because the final moments before transformation feel identical to the moments before defeat. Pain doesn't mean stop, it means transformation is near. Exhaustion doesn't mean failure rate, means the old version of you is finally being pushed to the edge. But you must understand this. The greatest shifts in your life won't come from massive leaps. They will come from your ability to keep showing up when nothing seems to be working. To keep giving your best, even when it feels pointless. To keep holding your vision, even when it's blurry. The world celebrates the finish line, but the real war is fought in the hidden inches, in the decision no one sees, in the second wind you choose to create when you could have walked away. That's what separates those who make it from those who almost did. But let's be honest, going one more doesn't feel glorious. It feels lonely. It feels slow. It feels like digging a tunnel in the dark, with no guarantee there's light at the end. But here's the truth, you are the light. Every time you go again, you get stronger. Every time you fight through the resistance, the old you loses power. And eventually, something cracks, something gives, something breaks open, and everything changes. You'll look back one day and realize the moment you almost quit was the moment you became unshakable. Because you didn't need evidence to keep going, you chose faith. You didn't need motivation, you had mission. You didn't need perfect conditions, you just needed to remember why you started. This is where your future is written, not in inspiration, in grit. So how do you train for this? You stop measuring your growth by what you can see and start measuring it by what you can endure. You build systems, not emotions. You treat discipline like oxygenot, optional, but necessary. And you remind yourself daily, I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm done. Going one more is not about punishment. It's not about burnout. It's about identity. It's who you become every time you go beyond your limits. Because greatness isn't about being the most talented. It's about being the most committed when everyone else is comfortable. So next time you want to stop, don't. Next time you think, maybe this is it, remember, it's not. The breakthrough always feels farthest away right before it arrives. That's not a sign to quit. That's your invitation to rise. So breathe deep, stand tall, and go one more. Chapter 14. Build in the dark. Master the seasons. No one applauds. There's a phase in every journey where the excitement fades, the progress stalls, and the silence grows louder. No one checks in, no one claps, no one notices. You keep showing up, but it feels like you're moving through fog. You're working harder than ever, but the results are quiet. You're growing, yes, but no one can see it yet. This is the season that breaks most plenot because it's painful, but because it's invisible. You see, we live in a world obsessed with speed and spotlight. We celebrate visible progress, we glorify overnight success, and we are trained, from a young age, to associate attention with validation. So when the attention disappears, when your work no longer gets likes, when your name fades from the conversations, when your growth feels unrecognized, it's easy to doubt your path. But here's the truth that the strongest minds have come to understand. The most powerful transformations happen in the dark. It's in the unseen hours that real change takes root. Not when you're being praised, not when you're being watched, but when it's just you, your discipline, your mission, and the quiet decision to keep going anyway. Think of the seed buried underground. It doesn't rise to the surface until it has broken itself open. It grows without sunlight, without applause, without acknowledgement. The soil is dark, the work is hidden. But if it quits because no one sees it, it will never bloom. And just like that seed, you are being shaped in silence. This is the season that tests your intentions. Are you doing it for praise or for purpose? Are you disciplined when no one is clapping? Do you keep your promises even when no one will ever know? Because this season, the dark one, the quiet one, the boring one, is where you develop the character that holds success when it finally comes. If you can't stay faithful in the shadows, you won't be grounded in the spotlight. Building in the dark teaches you to rely on integrity over intensity. Not the high-energy bursts of motivation, but the low, consistent rhythm of someone who moves with clarity. It teaches you that momentum doesn't always look like movement. Sometimes growth feels like stillness, but it's happening deep below the surface. So how do you survive this season? You detach from the noise. You stop measuring your worth by response and learn to live from principle. You commit to the process, not just the outcome. You learn to fall in love with the routine even when it's mundane. You anchor yourself in your vision. You remind yourself daily of what you're building and why. You track your growth privately. Not everything that matters can be posted or praised. Sometimes the best work is the work no one sees. And then you keep building. Because one day the fog will lift. The habits you formed in silence will start to show in your confidence. The resilience you built through lonely reps will echo in your results. The mental strength you forged in darkness will radiate when the light returns. And people will ask, "How did you do it?" But they won't understand. They won't see the nights you almost gave up. They won't see the mornings you moved forward on nothing but faith. They won't feel the quiet battles you fought alone. They'll only see the bloom, the success, the version of you that was crafted in the shadows. Let them see the result, but never forget the silence that made you. Because once you've learned to build in the dark without applause, without validation, without proof, you become unstoppable. Not because of what you have, but because of who you became when no one was looking. That's how empires are built. That's how legends are born. That's how you build a mindset no storm can shake. So if you're in the dark right now, don't run from it. Don't rush it. Use it. Because the darkness isn't here to destroy you. It's here to prepare you. And if you can master this season, the world will never be able to ignore you again. Chapter 15. Unshakable for life. Become the person who can't be broken. There comes a time in your journey when success stops being the goal and becoming unshakable becomes the mission. Because money can be lost, status can fade, opportunities can vanish. But the person you become, the mind you've built, the heart you've strengthened, the discipline you've etched into your soul that can never be taken. And that's the goal now. Not just to achieve success, but to become the kind of person who can't be broken by anything. Not failure, not rejection, not delay, not betrayal. Nothing. This doesn't mean life won't hit you. It will. You'll be tested. You'll be shaken. You'll face storms you didn't expect and losses that will bring you to your knees. But unshakable doesn't mean untouched. It means you bend, but don't break. You feel the pain, but you keep walking. You hear the doubt, but you don't obey it. You stumble, but you never give up. Because the version of you that now exists has been forged in fire. You've broken mental loops. You've endured long nights. You've silenced the noise. You've embraced the boring. You've challenged reality. You've committed when no one was watching. You've risen from your own ashes. You've outlasted the storm. And now you don't just think differently. You live differently. Being unshakable means your strength is no longer dependent on what's happening outside you. The world may fall apart, but your mind stays anchored. People may doubt you, but your purpose stays clear. Plans may fail, but your identity is unbreakable. Why? Because you no longer see yourself as someone trying to succeed. You see yourself as someone who refuses to stay small. Unshakable means you've stopped needing permission. You've stopped begging for clarity. You've stopped outsourcing your value. You've stopped looking for signs and started being the signal. You now walk into every room knowing, I've built myself for this. You face obstacles and think, this won't break, might will reveal me. You make decisions from power, not panic. You speak with quiet certainty, not performance. You move through your day, not chasing, but commanding. You've become the kind of person who doesn't need external motivation to stay on track. Your standards carry you. Your vision sustains you. Your habits guide you like compass needles when the sky turns black. This level of strength doesn't scream. It doesn't boast. It doesn't need a stage. Because it's not for show, it's for war. For the everyday war between your past and your potential. For the war between fear and focus. For the war between comfort and calling. And every day, you win that war, not with emotion, but with identity. You've decided who you are. And now, the world has to respond to that. People may not understand you anymore. You've outgrown old spaces, old labels, and old limits. But that's the cost of becoming real, of becoming whole, of becoming untouchable. No, because you're numb, but because you're rooted. Rooted in discipline, rooted in truth, rooted in purpose. You're no longer chasing a version of success designed by someone else. You've defined it for yourself. And that's why you don't just look successful, you are. Because you know the inside matches the outside. And no storm can take that from you. So wherever you are today, remember this. Being unshakable isn't something you find. It's something you build, moment by moment, decision by decision, day by day. It doesn't happen in a flash. It happens in the shadows, in the repetitions, in the resilience, in the refusal to quit. You've walked through doubt, failure, delay, fear, and silence, and you've kept going, not because it was easy, not because it was clear, but because you made a vow. I will not break. And that vow has shaped every step since. So now you stand here not as someone hoping to win, but as someone who has already become the victory. You are no longer becoming unshakable. You are. Chapter 16. Lead yourself first. Become the example you were waiting for. At some point in your journey, you stop looking outward. You stop waiting for a role model to follow. You stop hoping someone stronger, wiser, more disciplined will come along and show you the way. Instead, something within you shifts. You realize, it's me. I'm the one I've been waiting for. Not out of arrogance, not out of pride, but out of the deep understanding that if I don't lead myself, no one else will. No one's coming to save you. No mentor can live your purpose for you. No guide can walk your path. And the world doesn't give power to those who wait for it, gives it to those who embody it. The greatest leaders in history didn't become powerful by seeking followers. They became powerful by first mastering themselves. They fought their own weaknesses. They made hard decisions behind closed doors. They trained when no one else did. They fell and rose so many times, they became immune to the fear of failure. To truly bend your brain into something unbreakable, you must begin leading yourself first. Before you teach, discipline, live it. Before you ask for loyalty, embody it. Before you expect excellence, bleed for it. Because people don't follow words. They follow energy. They follow examples. But most importantly, you follow energy too. And when your own words match your actions, when your intentions match your routines, when your identity matches your standards, you begin to trust yourself. And that trust? That's the foundation of confidence that no one can shake. Leading yourself means you don't wait to feel ready, you train for readiness. It means you don't make decisions based on mood, you make them based on mission. It means you don't let weakness have the microphone, you speak truth louder than fear. This isn't about perfection. You'll still fall short. You'll still have doubts. But you lead anyway. You rise anyway. You return to the path every time because your life demands it. The truth is, we're all leaders. Whether we realize it or not, we're leading someone, our families, our friends, our younger self watching from the shadows of memory. And the question isn't if you're leading. The question is, how? Do your actions speak with clarity or confusion? Does your schedule reflect your purpose, your procrastination? Does your energy lift people or drain them? You want others to believe in you? Show them how you believe in yourself. You want your team to rise under pressure? Show them how you move when the pressure hits. You want your family to break cycles? Break your own first, because true leadership begins within. And until you master your own thoughts, habits, and emotions, you'll always be chasing control in the outside world without ever having it within. But once you commit to leading yourself, something sacred happens. You stop outsourcing your future. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop needing life to be fair because now you've chosen to be powerful either way. Your presence changes. You walk with alignment. You speak with conviction. You act from integrity. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because this is who you've become. And when you meet others who've done the same work, there's a silent respect. You can see it in their eyes. They've suffered. They've rebuilt. They've led themselves through storms no one saw. You don't have to lead millions. You just have to lead one person, you. Wake up and make decisions that your future self will thank you for. Say no when it protects your peace. Say yes when fear tells you to hide. Choose growth when comfort tries to seduce you. Because the greatest leaders are not the loudest. They're the most aligned. They don't need to convince anyone they are the evidence. So, stop waiting. You are the standard. You are the model. You are the one they've been watching. And most importantly, you are the one your younger self needed. Lead yourself. And you won't just change your life. You'll change the direction of generations. Chapter 17. The final test. When nothing happens, will you still become everything? There is a stage no one warns you about. A stretch in your journey that feels hollow, silent, and impossibly slow. You've done the inner work. You've stayed consistent. You've faced your fears, built your habits, sacrificed comfort, rewritten your story, and endured seasons of loneliness, confusion, and rejection. And still nothing happens. No breakthrough, no reward, no validation, no finish line, just silence. You look around and wonder, after everything I've done, why am I still here? This is the final test. Not the test of strength, not the test of speed, not the test of discipline or even faith. It's the test of becoming. The test that asks, can you continue, even when nothing seems to be happening? Can you keep watering the roots of your future when the surface is dry and barren? Can you live as if you've already succeeded even when the world treats you like you haven't? You see, many people pass the test of struggle but fail the test of silence. Because this stage is not loud. It's not full of obvious challenges. It's not exciting. It's subtle, empty, ordinary. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Because the mind starts whispering, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this wasn't meant for me. Maybe I should just settle. But hear this clearly. This silence is not punishment. It's preparation. The universe doesn't hand power to the impatient. It waits. It watches. It observes how you move without reward, how you speak without recognition, how you behave when nothing is pushing you but your own belief. Because if you can keep showing up when there's nothing, you're proving that you've already become everything. You're no longer chasing success. You're living like someone who already holds it within. You're no longer negotiating with fear. You're walking with identity. You're no longer attached to outcomes. You're driven by vision. And that, right there, is the moment when the world starts to shift. Not because you pushed harder, but because you outlasted the void. Because most people will break during this test. Not from failure, but from fatigue. Not because they weren't capable, but because they couldn't bear the quiet. But the ones who win, they don't need noise. They don't need permission. They don't need signs. They live in alignment whether the world responds or not. They keep writing the book, keep training the body, keep protecting the mind, keep executing the mission with or without applause. And that's how you know you've made it. Not when the door finally opens, but when your identity becomes so solid that you no longer need the door to feel complete. You've stopped becoming the person who's trying and stepped fully into the person who just is. So if you're in that place right now where nothing is happening, where progress feels invisible, where your efforts feel unseen, hold the line. Don't pull back. Don't slow down. Don't doubt the roots just because the fruit hasn't shown up yet. You are in the most sacred part of your growth, the part where your greatness is tested, not with resistance, but with delay. And if you can walk through this fire with peace, with focus, with quiet strength, you'll come out not just successful, but untouchable. Because when nothing happens, and you still choose to become everything, you've already won. If you've made it here, it means you're not like most. You didn't just skim through these pages looking for motivation. You came searching for something deeper, a way out of who you were and a way into who you were meant to be. You didn't come to escape the struggle. You came to transform through it. You didn't come for comfort. You came to awaken the power you've always carried, but may have forgotten under the weight of life, fear, doubt, and noise. And now, you've remembered. This book wasn't about teaching you something new. It was about unlocking what's already inside of you. That discipline you admire, you were built for it. That strength you envy, it's in you, waiting for direction. That unshakable mindset you dreamed of. You've just finished building the foundation brick by brick. You now know how to silence the loop of self-sabotage. You know how to lead yourself when no one else will. You know how to rise in the dark, endure the delay, burn the old script, and rebuild a new one with clarity and conviction. You've learned what it means to outlast the storm, to trust your process, and to go one more when every part of you wants to stop. And most of all, you've learned that becoming unbreakable is not an outcome. It's a decision, a practice, a way of being. This is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where you stop playing by the old rules. A chapter where your mind no longer pulls you back, it pushes you forward. A chapter where you no longer live on accident, you live with intention. From this point forward, you no longer need external permission to rise. You don't need applause to take action. You don't need evidence to believe. You don't need to wait for life to change. You've already changed. You are the example now. You are the standard now. You are the blueprint now. The world will not hand you peace, power, or purpose. You must bring it with you. And now you can. So wake up tomorrow and move like someone who knows. I don't just want greatness, I'm built for it. Walk like someone who is no longer scared of the unknown. Think like someone who has already been through fire and come out refined, not ruined. Speak like someone whose words create change because they are born from inner strength, not outer noise. And above, alive like someone who knows that no matter what happens out there, you cannot be broken in here because you've bent your brain. You've built the mindset. And now, you are unshakable.